Hi, I'm David. Welcome to a talk about. I'm reviewing Homeland, which is the first book of the Dark Elf Trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. This is a very popular book over the years by a very famous author, R.A. Salvatore, who has written many books, and he's very creative in his storytelling, the world he creates, the characters. The story is very good, and there's a lot of action right from the beginning and throughout the rest of the book. So if you're really into that, you'll see a lot of that battle scene stuff. Though there's other kind of other things like manipulating and talking and development of character and other things that definitely go into play in this book as well, if you're into that as well. And I think it's something definitely to check out for anybody that's a fantasy reader who hasn't read it, or somebody that's new to the genre. It's definitely a book for somebody to read that's into this type of story. This book is basically about Drizzt Do'Urden's life, who's a dark elf. He lives in what is called the Underdark, which is basically underground dark world, and it takes place in a city called Menzo Berenzin, which is the city of the Drow Dark Elf, and it's a place of basically of crime, and I don't think there's really any morality at all. Maybe there's a morality of its own kind that they have, their own kind, maybe a little bit, but I would say basically it's non-existent at all, any kind of set of morality. And it's basically about conflicts of the different houses and these crime families that are at each house and their way of moving up and back down, taking each other out, down the ladder, and just kind of like manipulating each other and killing. And so this dark elf, Drizzt, is basically it starts before he was born, all the way up into his early years, early life, and how he grows up and becomes the character he ends up being. A lot of it, at least, and up to a certain point, his training and how basically he's different than everybody, and he's really a cool character. Has a lot of abilities. Basically, he's really awesome abilities. So Drizzt is definitely the main character of this book, as I said, and I think though that the two most likable character is Drizzt, and also Zach, who is the weapon master and his trainer part of the story. I kind of like how they grow the personalities, and I like first I like weapon master Zach's just personality in the sense of his lighthearted, some kind of his humor he has, and just might have a little bit, but he definitely Zach's the one that has it, and he's most fun in that way, even though he's not necessarily always. But yeah, he kind of like makes light of things, and the two characters they don't always get along, and their personal how they're. It's just the struggle between the two of them and their story together. I kind of like. It's very realistic, and I like how it's developed. He's born into a very high up family, who's actually the family in charge of his house, Do'Urden, and their family's pretty. Their house is pretty high up there, though it's not the highest number one house, and they're still pretty far up from it, and they're trying to basically manipulate and kill their way to the top, and they become very powerful in this. I think they have a lot of favor with the Spider Queen, and so his mother is one in charge of the house, matron Malice, and she has three daughters who are his sisters, Riza, Fiona, and Maya, and they're basically, the daughters are kind of very dangerous to each other as well as the mother. They're basically always trying to be the firstborn and the one that ends up being the mother in charge, so they eventually will kill the other to do that. On the flip side, the males will also kill each other for the lineup in the family and who's the firstborn. And so like Didin did to his brother, and Drizzt is one of the brothers, and he finds himself endangered by Didin, who wants basically to take him out. He's the younger brother, he's a threat, to take him out. And Drizzt, so he kind of just kind of learns about this and kind of learns his way of how he doesn't really want to do these. He doesn't really want to follow what they want him to do, but he finds a way of like basically making him believe how he can kind of manipulate his own way, live his own life within all of this. Olton and Mesoj are two characters that are always near each other in this story, and they are from the house Devere and Honnet, and they basically form an alliance that's basically mostly of revenge. Basically, it's revenge, and they kind of a sort of a friendship that's not really a friendship. They're actually really I actually really found it interesting following these characters. They were great to just read. Their story, a lot had to do with their story, but also who they were as characters. It definitely starts off different than what it actually becomes, and and they meet each other at the academy, and just the way how they're tricking their way in and pretending to be people, and then they have some powers for sure, and they're basically a danger to some of the house, to Drizzt. And I really did like these two characters. They're maybe not as likable as Drizzt and Zack, though they're fun and interesting characters to read. There are also creatures here who serve the Dark Elves, who are the leaders. Like there are orcs and goblins that are basically their slaves, their minions, helpers to work for them. And I found in some ways the way the system works in the Dark Elves that they're almost in a sense more free than some of the Dark Elves in a way, though their positions are pretty bad. Though if they want them for something really messed up, it'll just happen. They'll die for something. But I felt like they have more freedom to move around and maybe get out of it. So besides the main story of Drizzt's life, the main story of the world he's in is really about the different houses and their power and how they want to move up in line, and it's how it's always like, can they get away with it? And if they can, for sure they want to, and it's all about having who's the most powerful. Even within a family, it's like that. These crime families that basically in the family they want the most power and they're trying to move their way up. They might not necessarily get to the top, they'll try to get as high as they can and be the most. And if they don't get so high, at least they become the best at what they are. Especially in warfare, they're all about warfare in a sense. So they want to be the best in warfare of anything, though the warfare is for the best outcome of their house. So it's all really about that and how far up can their house move within a lifetime. But yeah, so it's really, that's the other main lying story. It's about the corruption and these characters and how they're moving around and what is the story that's going around behind their backs with other families. So in this world, darkness is like our day and day is like our darkness. The flip side on that, they treat them very differently. So the nighttime is they really get up and do things, and the daylight, they don't really like it and they sleep. They strongly don't like it and they sleep during that time, though they're underground. If they go to the surface, it's like big preaching against the light, and it hurts them, hurts their eyes, which makes sense for being underground. But yeah, it's much more than that though. And so most everyday activity happens during the night. Though a lot does happen during the day, because it's all again about crime and corruption, and that all takes place during the day. Like kind of like in our world, a lot of crime takes place at night, and so they're able to move around and do what they can during the day, and because they don't like be out during then in general, and so a lot of that goes on during then. It's just basically, can you get away with it? And if you can hide and have no evidence of what you did, and you get away with it, then there's basically then you don't have a penalty. People won't come after you. There's no investigation after it or whatever unless they find something, and so they really kind of like praise you if you can get away with it in a sense. Though if they do find something that you are found guilty of something, penalty is very, very strict and very cruel and torturous. So you really don't want to be caught, though it seems like the other outcome of getting away with it seems a lot higher to them, because they'll basically do it. They'll try to do something no matter what in general. The religion they have is the worship of the goddess, the Spider Queen, who's really a creepy, scary figure to worship. And I find the author really makes it very realistic, especially when they're in the worship and they go, you can kind of sometimes glimpse the other realm and the other life and then their world and the difference between it. He's able to really make it really realistic in a sense between the two. I really like how he's able to at certain points write this. And it's really the goddess is really a bloody godless, cruel. She wants cruelty from everyone, and she acts on this. And if you basically, if you ask for something, it's not really a good thing maybe to ask for something. It's kind of hard to ask, I find, and she's more helpful in battle. And so you're really asking for power during a fight, and so she'll be more willing to help as long as you've been good. And if you haven't, either kind of sacrifice somebody who's guilty or someone else that's good enough. You find that she's appeased by it. But yeah, so it's basically for battle use. I would say she's best for that. But I mean, so they're trying to use her for power, though she's kind of hard to work with. One of the really great points of this book that I really enjoyed, and I'm actually looking for in all books that I read, is that the characters and their relationships together seemed and felt very real when you're reading it, and so it really pulled you in that way. Besides the world and the story, obviously, are very also, I think, very important. They're just as important, I personally think, but the characters are for sure not flat characters, and so it made it really enjoyable. Like every single one, I would say every single one. Like there was no really flat characters in it at all. And so really, no matter what character you really following within a chapter, it really was brought to life because of this. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I plan on doing many more different books reviews of other series, of different authors, as well as maybe coming back to R.A. Salvatore and his books, because he's a very good author and has so many of them. So I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.